Hello and welcome to the birth of a new dimension. My name is Aurora, and I would like to ask you to please prepare for the rearrangement of your genetic code. So not only will the information and ideas that I'm presenting here today be a rearrangement of your genetic code in terms of epigenetics, or the code that rules the code, but also the tones and harmonic frequencies in my voice and in the musical instrument that I will be playing for you will also be rearranging your genetic code. So you have been warned or prepared. If this doesn't sound like your cup of tea, please turn off this broadcast. And if you would like to conform to the higher dimensional patterns of energy as it flows through the cosmos and reduce the friction that you experience in terms of your consciousness and your perception and your awareness, and in so doing, increase the cellular regeneration of your body and expand or dilate your lifespan of your physical body to the hundreds or thousands of years that you would like to expand that to, and also begin to maintain continuity of consciousness between the lifetimes or containers for consciousness that you occupy, then please continue to listen to this broadcast as I put these frequencies into your own body. So I'm going to begin with this musical instrument tuned to 432 hertz, the A note. That note is tuned to 432 hertz as opposed to 440 hertz, which is the A note of a regular, it's an electronic piano that I have here. And the importance of that information is that 432 is a number that relates in a more comfortable way to the natural resonance of Earth, the planet upon which we all stand right now, that the Schumann resonance is about 7.83. We rounded up to 8, and it oscillates dependent upon how many lightning strikes are, for example, on the plains of Africa. So just like your heart rate and your body temperature can change as part of your natural metabolism, so too can Earth's Schumann resonance. This is the frequency that is created by energy bouncing between the ground, where you plant your tomatoes, and the stratosphere, the higher levels of Earth's atmosphere. That how many lightning strikes are, for example, on the plains of Africa, make Earth's atmosphere ring like a bell, just like me striking this tubular instrument with my little rubber mallet. And the number of lightning strikes will change that frequency slightly, and that frequency at 8 hertz, roughly, is a comfortable frequency for the two hemispheres of your brain to communicate with one another. And when you listen to music or tones or a person's voice that is tuned to these frequencies, you experience less friction, less internal friction in your mental state, less cognitive dissonance, because your organic computer, this is what your brain is being allowed to function on frequencies which it is more comfortable functioning upon. So I'm going to first play the musical scale beginning with C, and that is very arbitrary. It's like saying we begin with the rainbow starting with red, but we could just as easily start with violet if we wanted to. But we, as a convention, begin red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. So as a convention in the musical scale, we will begin with C, and I'm going to play these notes. If we were to use an analogy, the piano keyboard, on this tubular bell instrument, each tube is like a white key on the piano keyboard. And if you're new to the physical reality or don't know about Earth culture or instruments at all, piano keyboard has a selection of both white and black keys, and the white keys are the pure tones, and the black keys are the sharp or flat tones. So those are tones that are, we could consider them secondary tones. And in this musical instrument with the tubes on top, there are no black keys. The tubes all act like the white keys, and the notes add up together and create those black keys by implication. So all of the sharps and flats are there. They're as a result of the additive harmonic overtones, creating notes out of the overtones that are within these notes, okay? I'm using a lot of words and a lot of my flapping of my moving mouth parts, but now I would like to simply demonstrate what this instrument is. I hope that it doesn't swamp or overwhelm or distort the microphone. And then I'm going to use my voice, because my voice is another instrument of harmonics. And basically what I'm doing is singing up your chakras. So your chakras are non-physical energy centers. These are arranged along your spinal column, but they affect and interpenetrate your entire multicellular body. And the vertex of each chakra is along the spine, and the lowest note, like the C, would be at the base of your spine. And as we travel up the spine, we travel upward in frequency and tone until we get to the very top of your head, which is the crown. And beyond that would be considered the next octave or the next quantum level of consciousness. And here on this broadcast, I don't just throw around vocabulary words such as quantum because I'm trying to sound cool or edgy. Quantum is actually being used intentionally in the way that it was defined, that a quanta is a packet, and the original understanders of the subatomic realm understood that the electron shells could not be cut up into smaller levels. The electron shells are like steps of energetic excitation that each little tiny particle can achieve, and it can only achieve these levels of excitation in whole packets. So there's no like 1 and then 1.5 and then 2. These are only whole numbers, packet number 1, packet number 2. So when I am speaking about the quantum reality or a quantum change or going up to the next quantum level of consciousness, what I am referring to is leaving this level of reality in which we find ourselves. You're a third dimensional being experiencing the fourth dimension and getting to the next level of consciousness. So the capacity to get to that next level of consciousness that would involve, let's say, a massive transformation of your physical multicellular body. And I use the word massive intentionally because your body is massive. It's made of mass. It's made of matter. And this is a transformation of the material matter portion of your body into non-matter, which would be pure light or pure energy or pure consciousness as it flows through time. So your body and your consciousness are transforming from something that is a physical structure containing consciousness into something that is an energetic structure containing consciousness. That's what that quantum leap is all about. And this is achieved by a restructuring or repatterning of your genetic material. Let's describe a little bit what the genetic material is, and also allow me to set myself apart from other teachers. I understand there are so many other teachers and systems of thought that are being presented right now that are all talking about catchphrases again, DNA upgrades. And I do not know what other teachers are referring to, but what I am referring to is the shape of the flying rainbow lasagna. So this is a shape, could be considered a hyper-torus or a type of higher dimensional torus. If you speak math, what I like to do is just synopsize this by saying what cube is to tesseract, torus is to flying rainbow lasagna. So the flying rainbow lasagna shape is what happens when we add an additional dimension and add an additional degree of freedom to the torus shape. And your energy field and Earth's magnetosphere, or the magnetic envelope surrounding the planet Earth, and the sun's heliosphere, which is the magnetic envelope that extends far past Pluto, and the shape of the energy envelope surrounding our galaxy and surrounding the supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy, all are shaped like tori or toruses or donut shapes. And the flying rainbow lasagna is what happens when we bring that donut shape into a higher dimensional reality because we have made that quantum leap. We have raised our consciousness up to the next level. And the way that we do this is by teaching new dance movements to your genes. So back in science class in high school, you might have been taught that your genes are shaped like an X-shaped chromosome. And that is only a very small portion of the story. Genes are tightly wound into their X-shaped or Y-shaped chromosome pattern only in the moments directly before mitosis, which is cell division, not for reproduction, but just like a skin cell turning into another skin cell. And that's only a fraction of the cell's life during the large majority of the cell's existence. DNA is unfurled, and it creates a substance that science calls chromatin. And it's analogous to if you took a knitted or crocheted sweater and just pulled on the thread that holds it all together and unfurled the entire sweater, and it's just a skein of yarn. That is what you have when you have chromatin. You have the sweater, quote unquote, of your DNA, your genetic code, unfurled into just a big mass of yarn, like one big giant long string. And that is done so that RNA messengers can enter the nucleus, which is like the library of the cell, and read your genes, which are like the blueprints of your reality, and make little Xerox copies of it, that's what the RNA messengers do, and then bring the copies out to the cell and say, make proteins like this and make things happen like this and function like this. I mentioned epigenetics earlier. Epigenetics is another science word. It means the code that rules the code. And the idea is that not all genes are equally accessible when your genetic code is unfurled as chromatin. Some loops are still tightly coiled like little springs, and some are unfurled and easy to access like pages open on a book. So you can have a DNA program that says, here's how to grow a really deadly tumor. But if that portion of the code is in the pages that are stuck together, then your RNA messengers will not be reading that portion of your body, and they won't create that reality. If the portion of the book that is open, like open pages, is the area that says, here's how to grow a nasty tumor, then that is what your body will be growing. So ideally, what we would wish for is to have our books open to the pages that give us not only health and vitality, but also unimpeded consciousness, that our emotional state and the perception of our awareness would be harmonious to the point of having unimpeded consciousness. And I've spoken in the past about how I describe the human mind, like the daily conscious waking intellect, as a hacked operating system. And the hacks, or the repurposing or distortion, or diminishing of function of the human operating system comes from the way that it has been changed from its original purpose and turned into this new format. And that way that it was changed was a genetic change. So literally, first, the genetic code that humans utilize was changed, and that caused a shift in perception and consciousness and emotional resonance or emotional frequency. And that emotional frequency then further changed and distorted the perception. So it's like if you have a horse and you beat it and give it horrible, torturous living conditions, then the horse always lives in fear, and it's always looking through at the world and experiencing the world and expecting the world to give it more fear and more torture. And so it then sends out those emanations and creates that fearful world, that fearful reality. Guess what? That is the basis of what is known as human history. Recorded history over about the past 5,000 years is the story of the horse and its viewpoint after it has been horribly tortured and abused by really bad owners. And that's humanity. Humanity, I'm sorry that I'm using the analogy of a horse, because often domestic animals are like condescended to and not valued. But your human body is meant to be like the container for consciousness, and consciousness is like the rider and your body is like the horse. And when the genetic code was degraded, the horses, your physical bodies, were treated very badly. They were abused very badly, and this caused a change in the levels of consciousness and levels of awareness, and changed what you expect. You expect violence, you expect rape, you expect disrespectful, unloving interactions between yourself and others, and then project that outward and to reality and create that reality. So I'm here describing this not to merely describe an untenable situation, but to offer solutions. And the solutions come in the form of, first of all, new ideas. What causes the epigenetic code to act as it does? Why are some pages open to be read and some pages are locked and inaccessible? And the answer is your emotional frequency, like whether you are happy or fearful, or in joy and in bliss, or in sorrow or in fear. Ideas and information also play a crucial role in epigenetics. So, like the program for cancer, once in the mid-20th century, humanity discovered that DNA exists, and then they started to look into the connection between DNA and certain diseases, and in a very simplistic fashion, people decided, DNA has diseases written into it, such as cancer, and if you have that written in your DNA, perforce, you will just naturally develop that disease. And it was very simplistic and not nuanced. And now it is understood that just because something is written in your genes does not mean that you will experience it. So the program of genetic fatalism, this is the idea, not that something is deadly, the word fatal, but to mean that something is fated, that it is unavoidable. It's written in your life code. It's in the book of you. And this is the idea of bad things being destined to happen to you. And again, this is the way that humans have been taught to perceive and experience reality for, the past 10 or 20,000 years has created this viewpoint. Receiving new information is the key to restructuring the genetic code. So this is like we could either bring the code back to what it was before it was destroyed or diminished in its function, or it's like if you have a house that gets damaged or burned down, you can rebuild according to the original blueprints, or you can expand. You can make it a little better. You can add on a sun porch or do something a little bit different. And that is what I would recommend, that if we are going to be changing and upgrading and refining our consciousness, we don't simply have to step back into our old patterns that we are familiar with. We can actually create new patterns and new dance movements, because the chromatin in your nuclei of your cells is always vibrating. So DNA is always vibrating all throughout its lifespan. It's not curled up like an X. It's actually at times not only unfurled but unzipped. It's like the teeth of a zipper, and one side of the zipper gets copied by RNA, and during the time that it is unzipped like that, it makes a lovely loop. And this loop is literally spinning and whirling and twirling. All of these motions, these are happening at, a microscopic level. All of these are very high energy motions of spinning in a circle or vortex-like movement. And so this is, again, refining your understanding. Your genes are not just static objects that sit there. They're like spinning tops or little spinning wheels inside of you on a subcellular level, and the patterns within which they spin. So in order to access all of the different areas of the genes, sometimes little portions of it have to be snipped because it has to release some of the stored potential energy. Little enzymes snip the DNA and allow those pages to be unfurled. And then when it's time to splice them back together, it splices them back together. So science is just now developing equipment that is sophisticated enough to watch this happen, watch this process unfold in real time and really see it. Up until this point, science has been understanding the sweater of your DNA by taking the sweater, unfurling it, chopping it up into microscopic bits, putting it through a sieve, and determining the specific weights of different colors of yarn that were used in the sweater. And they don't know that it's like a Snoopy-shaped Christmas sweater. Like that, science doesn't know what the sweater looks like when the pattern is actually all knitted together. It just knows we have 3.6 nanometers of red and 5.7 nanometers of blue. It is not the total picture, and that's why science doesn't yet understand all of the aspects of what DNA is doing. So, as I said, I'm setting myself apart from other teachers that offer a more nebulous idea of what genes are and a genetic upgrade. Genes are literally the bridge of light between the world of potential and the world of actually enacted experience. So they aren't just the things that creates the shape of your nose or the shape of your eyebrow. They are also the things that creates your events during the day. When you walk out your front door, will you have a happy day or will someone run you over with a Mack truck? Your genes are actually determining that because your genes are connecting you to different timelines or collections of possibilities and probabilities. So, I offer you the Flying Rainbow Lasagna as a new dance movement to rearrange your genes. Just making you aware of the information that a shape called the Flying Rainbow Lasagna exists and inviting you to look at one. Look at the banner for Birth of a New Dimension on UCY on the homepage, or go to flyingrainbowlasagna.com, or go to my YouTube page, or click on the @BirthDimension Twitter feed where you can find examples of my artwork. Basically, when you look at the Flying Rainbow Lasagna, you are being inoculated in the most wonderful way. And here I use the word inoculation to mean in the same way that we can take a sterilized medium like a petri dish and inoculate it with mushroom spores, or a sterilized medium of, like barley or rice, and inoculate it with mushroom spores and then grow delicious Psilocybe cubensis. We can also inoculate a person's consciousness with a new idea, and that idea can then take hold and be nourished and grow. So we are getting away from the idea of genetic fatalism, the idea that your life is fated, that the book of you is written at your birth, you're just a passenger, and you just have to go through it and experience it. Ah ha ha ha, I laugh at that. What a silly assertion. No, not only are you not just in the passenger seat, you're in the driver's seat. You are a divine co-creative partner, where you're not just living or within the scripted reality that someone else has written for you. You are helping to write the script. So it's also like saying you're not just a classical musician playing the exact notes that Mozart or Beethoven wrote hundreds of years ago. You're a jazz musician, and you can improvise and do what you wish to do right now in the moment with your creativity and your creative life energy. So these are crucial pieces of information that when you ingest them, like the shape of the Flying Rainbow Lasagna and the idea that your genes are not fated to be a certain thing, you are being given a pencil with an eraser. You are now the editor of your genes and the editor of your life. You are not a passive victim. You are a divine co-creative partner. And this is what we were created for. We were created, the human form, we, quote unquote, were created to be containers for higher dimensional consciousness, the abstract consciousness of a higher dimensional realm. And we weren't meant to come down here into these containers and then be cut off from our source of vitality and creative energy and love and consciousness and nourishment. We were meant to be always connected, always collaborating. So we might have gotten information, when we were born in terms of what our genetic format is, and then every day you get upgrades. Just like my Apple computer is connected to the internet and it occasionally checks for software upgrades, and then I download the most recent version of whatever, Safari or OS X. Well, in the very same way, we are meant to connect on a daily basis to the sun. The sun is like it's our nearest star, and it's our nearest broadcaster of cosmic or galactic consciousness. And we are meant to tune into it on a daily basis and receive all of the quote-unquote software upgrades and patch codes that we need to combat whatever viruses or perturbations in the field we might be experiencing. When I speak of perturbations in the field, what I'm talking about there's a field of consciousness that is just like water. And when water is perfectly still, it is a perfectly clear medium through which light can travel. When it is agitated or perturbed, just the movements of the medium itself creates shadows and light, areas where light can be, areas where light or awareness cannot be. And perturbations in the field of consciousness is what has given rise to these negative, lower vibrational service to self thought entities that occupy the interstices. So occasionally, how about constantly throughout the day, we as humans are having to deal with these perturbations flowing through our mind. So we have the mind and the thoughts that are our true thoughts, and then we have things that are wavelets, that are just wavelets passing through, that are you could call it background noise, but that is being way too kind to it. Like the background noise, the pictures of cosmic radiation that science has created. I think they started them in the 1950s. This is not merely background noise of consciousness, because it is literally directed at individuals and can be changed in order to reduce consciousness. So these are targeted attacks, really, but they have the same action of friction, creating friction and lack of awareness, reducing consciousness. So I am here as an example of a new dance movement that you can perform with your genes. Anyone with a genetic code, anybody who uses DNA, can apply the Flying Rainbow Lasagna dance movement to your genes. I'm here to teach you the twist, it's the twist and here's how you do it. However, you get to take it, and it's open source code. You get to do with it what is right for you. So it's like taking an idea and then running with it. And the Flying Rainbow Lasagna is it's that editor's pencil, a way to erase out what you do not wish to have in your mind and in your perception and in your body and in your life experience, and write or draw in what you do wish to experience. And this is not only for you as an individual, this is for human society on the surface of Earth. This is for the planetary noosphere, planetary telepathic group mind. That's what noosphere is. We are talking about all consciousness, dolphins and whales and elephants and microbial bacteria in your gut and blades of grass in a meadow, all of that combining together, along with the intelligences of the mineral world, the vibrations of quartz and mountains, all of that combined together in order to create the noosphere. So if you're tuning in for the first time, you have just had your genes changed by learning about epigenetics, by learning about the existence of the Flying Rainbow Lasagna, by looking at a picture of the Flying Rainbow Lasagna. And now I'm going to go even further, because I told you I'm going to use this musical instrument here. I hope that it's not going to be too loud or distortive on the microphone, because it sounds really beautiful in person, but sometimes with the electric equipment, it's like if you hold the microphone too close to your mouth, it sounds really terrible. So I'm going to put this hopefully in a good spot, and you'll be able to hear this well. And I'm beginning with the note of C, but that is just very arbitrary, but that's the way that the instrument is set up. So it goes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then back to C. And that final C is like the note of white light, that all of these other notes are like the colors of the rainbow, and all of the colors of the rainbow add up to white light. That white light is unity consciousness. It is the undivided ray of consciousness that emits from the source. And these are all of the whole notes, the white keys on the piano keyboard that I'm striking, and their combined totality of their harmonic overtones creates the sharps and flats. Okay, so here we go, beginning with C. Now, especially at the end there, you can hear some of those very faint oscillating or warbling sounds like ooh, and those are the harmonic overtones that are creating those beautiful patterns. Now, I also have this this app that I run on a tablet here that's really wonderful. It is like an oscilloscope, and it shows the harmonic overtones as images, and the images look just like the patterns that I paint. Now, I've been doing vocal overtone singing since I came here, as a walk-in. Oh, P.S., if you're new to my broadcast, I'm a walk-in. I'm not the original inhabitant of this physical body, and I came in 2001, and I've been cultivating my voice, and my vocal cords are also tuned to create these harmonic overtones. And what that means is that, like, there's a primary note, like I'll play a C on the piano here. It's just one note, but within that note, there are many other vibrations. We could call them sub-notes, but in the terms here, in the vocabulary in this musical discussion, they're called overtones. And so my vocal cords will make one note, and then by changing and shifting the shape of my mouth and my lips, I will make my voice make the overtones, and you might hear this very faint whistling type of noise, or woo woo woo, that is in the background or slightly higher than the primary note. And what I'm going to do is sing one tone for each chakra, in the same way that on the other musical instrument I started with C. I'm going to start with C. This is like red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, red. Okay, but we're going to do it with overtones. Are you ready? Okay. So I hope that came through okay. I think it was a bit distorted by the microphone. I'm going to hold it away from my mouth a little bit more. And I hope that you can hear, like, these are the overtones that I'm talking about. So sound, especially harmonically structured sound, has a benevolent effect or impact on our consciousness and on our physical cellular body, like the physical structure of your cells. I know someone who does sound bath healing experiences where the entire audience gets to lay down on the floor and, on comfy cushions, and then all these different gongs and tubular bells and Tibetan singing bowls are used. And I saw a pretty impressive picture of a red blood cell of a person that had a blood disease before one of these sound baths, and it was like a deformed, not a perfect circle. And then after she experienced the sound bath, her red blood cells, her blood was drawn again, and the picture was taken again, and the cells were perfectly formed, perfect. Your red blood cells are actually shaped like little miniature tori. It's quite amazing. They're little toruses. They were all perfectly formed, and that is very good information for the objective, materialistic, rational, skeptical mind, which is basically a program. And that program that your genes, that program that your awareness is running, is affecting your genetic code, in that it affects your capacity to believe in certain things unless you are given proof. And ostensibly, this is to protect you from, just misinformation or in the past, people were very, what is the word that I'm looking for? They were superstitious. People were very superstitious, and so the objective, materialistic, scientific viewpoint has been developed as a response to superstition. And in that sense, yes, it is helpful, and we burn many fewer witches these days than we used to, and science is its own belief system of expectations and about the way the world works. And if you are busy engaging in the scientific or objective materialistic belief system, then you can never perceive certain things that don't fit within that belief system. So this is why science doesn't even investigate certain phenomenon of consciousness, we could call it, certain things like telepathy, that science cannot recognize consciousness that is non-local. So it's not even going to perform certain investigative experiments in order to learn about something that it's not prepared to learn about. So the objective, rational, materialistic viewpoint has its value, and it is literally a program, like a subroutine on your operating system, that is preventing your genes, which remember are a bridge of awareness between the realm of possibilities and uncollapsed waveforms and the realm of experience. Your genes, when they are programmed to believe in objective materialism and rational science, means you cannot occupy certain timelines. You cannot even be on certain timelines where you will see something like a person flapping their arms and jumping up into the air and actually flying by doing that. Your scientific mind says that is not allowed. That cannot happen. Therefore, you do not even get to be on those timelines to see those things and disbelieve them or negate them. Your consciousness, your awareness, is like the needle on the record of the song of your life. And your awareness, where your awareness is placed, this is determined by your will, your belief system, what you believe in, where you choose to place it. It is not randomly or arbitrarily assigned at all. So this is one of the big takeaways from this conversation here. If your life is like a record, an old-fashioned analog record that you put on a record player, that means that it contains all of these possibilities of events and experiences and what shape your body can turn into. Everything, you can become a limbless amputee on some timelines. On other timelines, you can become an Olympic athlete and you've cultivated yourself to the highest degree, and every level of the spectrum in between. And then there are timelines that exist where your body, your physical structure, transforms and begins to do things that would be presently defined as superhuman. So the example I used before, flap your arms really hard and jump up into the air and fly, that will be nothing. This is the minimum of what can be experienced. We're talking about no longer having to eat physical food, but using the clean, frictionless energy of pure sunlight and pure consciousness to power not only your cellular body, but also your consciousness and your non-physical energy structure, your chakras. When there is enough energy in the body and when the energy is being utilized in an efficient way, then you can do amazing things with that energy. So the amazing things are things that they're called paranormal or supernatural, that have been done by people in the past as lone individual acrobats, by location, or amazing healings, or even death that is not an ordinary death. death where the body does not putrefy, but where it instead transforms into a different type of substance or format. We are talking about the way that your body actually behaves or should behave when it is still connected to the source of energy. So just like your cell phone, when your cell phone is not connected to the cell phone tower, it loses a lot of its basic qualities. You cannot send and receive information. You cannot look up anything new. You can record things, you can take lots of pictures and videos, and you can write things down, and you can access anything that is stored in the memory on the phone, but you cannot access new information, and you cannot send information out to others. And that is what most human consciousness is like and has been for like the past 10 or 20,000 years. But that's not what you're supposed to be like. You're supposed to be like, quote unquote, a cell phone with connectivity. The connectivity is to the sun is your local cell phone tower, but really to the great galactic thinker. And that is the galaxy itself is an entity. And each solar system, each star system is an organ or aspect of anatomy within the entity of consciousness that is the larger galaxy. And yes, little tiny people like you and I are part of this larger entity, and yes, we matter. We matter in the same way that the health and vitality of the mitochondria in your cells, they're these little subcellular organelles that create energy in your body. You want to stay alive, you have to keep your mitochondria alive. And that is the level of mutual interdependence that we experience with the galactic entity. That yes, it is absolutely necessary for us to be alive and thrive so that that larger entity of consciousness can be alive and thrive. And in this context, be alive and thrive means be on the right timelines. Don't occupy the timelines that are at the periphery, the outer edge of the record. Occupy the timelines that are closer to the central spindle. Those are the timelines that are the least distorted aspects of awareness. They're the values, behaviors, and thoughts that are the closest to, quote unquote, the real you. And you could say this entire experience of being here in the physical is a refinement of consciousness and a refinement of the personality characteristics that we define as you. So on the periphery, the aspects of you that are far distorted from who you really are, sometimes it is through physical distortion, sometimes it is through activity, like we are in truth not murderers and rapists and megalomaniacs, like I'm thinking of someone like Stalin or Hitler, Pol Pot, these incredibly destructive ego-based rulers. Those personalities are the characteristics at the far edge of the record of or the song of your life or who you are. And the values of who you really are the values that are closer toward the center. They are values of unconditional love and basically being in alignment with the emanations of consciousness that come from a higher dimension. And this is not a judgment-based value system. I'm not saying that being a loving person is better than being an evil megalomaniac just because. I'm saying that this is like if you want to drive your car down the road, point your car in this direction, and you do not veer off into a ditch that's over on the side. Or it's like bowling, if you want your ball to hit the pins that are down at the end of the bowling alley, you roll your ball down the middle. You don't roll it over to the side, that goes into the gutter. Well, all of those lives, the consciousness trajectory, that are the lives that have the values where it is appropriate to kill others, to rape, to murder, to steal for what you want. Those are values that take you to the periphery, away from the core values that your consciousness is being refined towards, because you have to embody those values if you want to, tying it all together, make that quantum leap out of this level of reality and into the next level. So there's a little tiny wormhole in order to get out of this level of reality. And if you are a murderer, rapist, megalomaniac type of ruler, world leader, you cannot fit your ego through that little tiny wormhole. You're not the right shape. You're not the right trajectory. In order to fit through that little tiny wormhole, you have to be a lean, mean, ascended master machine. I'm joking there. You have to be only the essential aspects of yourself, of who you really are, the true aspects of who you are. And the aspects of self that would rape or mass murder or any of those kind of activities, those are not everlasting or eternal or infinite aspects of self. They are based only in the temporal reality. They are based in the temporal ego. The temporal ego is derived from being submerged in time. And we do not take with us the characteristics that were built from being submerged in time to the next zone if they are not relevant in the next zone. So really, what you learned here in this world of being enclosed in flesh and submerged in time and interacting with other particles of consciousness, you can take some of those lessons with you. They do translate, but some aspects of behavior cannot proceed through the wormhole. And so basically, this is a schoolhouse for learning. This dimension is meant, or dimensional experience is meant to be a schoolhouse for learning, where you learn, hey, what happens if I think these thoughts? What happens if I perform these activities? Does it take me closer to the periphery, closer to the membrane of death? Does it take me closer to the center and closer to the source and closer to the values and levels of consciousness that bring us to ascension? And when people talk about ascension, I don't know what other people are talking about, but I know that I am speaking about a raising of the frequency of your consciousness to the point that it transforms your physical body into something that we would define as no longer physical. So I'm not talking, as we talk about ascension, about like floating upwards or a literal biblical interpretation of the Christian rapture. The idea of the rapture is that your mind and your consciousness rises higher. And this is very distortive, that people have interpreted it as literally floating upwards into a world in the clouds. So don't get stuck in the form of the expectation of what it is, because truly you can ascend and raise your consciousness and not have to leave where you are. Many people are confused. They think that ascension means spaceships will pick you up and pluck you off of the surface of the earth and you will go elsewhere, like somewhere else. Aha ha ha. That is not what ascension is, because earth is ascending. The reason why we are all humans on Earth's surface raising our genetic and cellular vibration is because Earth is raising her vibration as part of her trajectory of consciousness. Yes, planets are alive, just like you and your body are alive. Stars are alive, and they have a metabolism, and they have a trajectory of consciousness, which is like saying birth, life, and death. Or it's like saying entry, experience, or trajectory, and then exit. So the planet right now is ascending, raising her vibration of consciousness. Earth is a dreamer. Earth is an emanatrix. She's a beautiful being that sends out vibrations of consciousness and ideas and dreams, literally, and we live in Earth's dreams. So photosynthesis is one of Earth's dreams. It's the dream of turning light into matter. And we wouldn't have a lot of the matter that we see around us if Earth did not dream of photosynthesis. And hey, guess what? Sexual reproduction. This is another dream of Earth. You know, the idea of males and females, or pollination happening on a massive scale. This is a dream of Earth. And I'm telling you that Earth's dream has been distorted. Earth is an incredible creative force, like a real artist or musician and visionary. And the dream has been hijacked or distorted, so that now humans, who are analogous to like the neurons of the great body, if the oceans are like her blood, and the fish that swim in the oceans are like her red blood cells, and the trees are like her lungs and the alveoli. If we go through all of these analogies, humanity is analogous to the neurons of the nervous system of the body. And right now, the nervous system is not thinking clearly. It is a malfunctioning, diseased nervous system. And humans are mainly having neurological diseases, and a lot of this comes from a malfunctioning of the endocannabinoid system. This is awesome, and you can research it so that you know that I am not just a person making things up, a person from another realm making things up. Endocannabinoid system. This is a science word for the naturally occurring system within your own nerve and organ, nerves and organs of your body that utilizes cannabinoids in order to regulate signals. And what science used to think was a one-way street. From your brain to your extremities, a signal goes, and then another one-way street from your extremities back to your brain. Well, the endocannabinoid system shows that all of these seemingly one-way streets are actually two-way streets. If the body has access to the right chemicals, the right fatty acids, then the human neurology can behave differently, and it reduces disease and actually makes people happy, calm, and peaceful and think more clearly. So on the planet, we have had 5,000 years of recorded human history that has recorded a lot of conflict, a lot of people stealing from one another, using wars as a way of settling differences, and basically not collaborating, not working together. Now, this totally doesn't make sense if we are looking at this in terms of the analogy of a physical body, because why should the cells of my big toe be fighting with the cells of my liver? If that is going on, we would call that there's a disease in the body. And some people have these inflammatory or autoimmune diseases, like arthritis. This means the body is attacking itself, and it's a symbol that there is something out of balance. So in our own world, we've got humanity attacking the planet or nature, like, the 18th century idea that nature is out to harm man and we must suppress nature by chopping down all of the trees possible and, corralling nature into small parks and making it, small and easily managed. That whole idea is antithetical to having a healthy planetary structure, and the idea of humans fighting against one another, like having a war. Just all the humans in this geographical locality are fighting against all the humans in this geographical locality. That's literally analogous to having seizures in the brain. The neurons of one geographic area are not firing in time, in harmonically complementary patterns to the neurons that adjoin that geographic area. They're fighting. It's like Israel and Palestine. They're fighting. Or, any famous war, England and Germany in World War I and World War II. These are seizures that are happening within the neurology of the planet. So Earth is becoming well. Earth is being healed. And many humans are afraid because they are like the horse that I described earlier in this broadcast. A horse or a domestic animal that's been beaten and abused and starved and given the worst treatment possible expects the worst things to happen to it. But the process of ascension is not death. It is not physical death with decomposition and putrefaction. It is a transformation of the physical structure. Earth, the planet, is transforming her physical structure into, this is called birth of a new dimension. The new dimension, it's like if we have mommy plus daddy equals baby. And, if mommy is a yellow cat and daddy is a calico cat and baby ends up having, orange stripes. Well, in this analogy, mommy is the world of matter. Literally, the word matter etymologically is derived from the word for mother, and the world of non-physical energy or consciousness or pure probabilities and possibilities. That would be considered the father or the other parent. And these two parents have been working together for a very long time to create the child that we would call moment-to-moment existence. The difficulties have been the frictions, the inhibitions between these two parents interacting in a positive and benevolent way. And now, with the invention of the flying rainbow lasagna, the world of matter and the world of just pure abstract consciousness can come together as a seamless continuum. Our inner world, quote unquote inner, of dreams and imagination, we have always been painting our reality. We've always been divine co-creators. However, most people have been unaware of their power as a divine co-creator, programmed as passive victims, programmed as losers, programmed to say, it's out of my hands, it's not something that I can do anything about, genetic fatalism, social fatalism, and all of that. Well, that all gets kicked out the window when you understand that you are this divine co-creative partner, that you don't need money or anybody else's permission. All you need is to be kind of a punk rock badass and claim your imagination, claim your divine co-creative capacity. Say, I am choosing to use my imagination to imagine my empowerment, that I have the capacity to see clearly and create the timelines that I wish to create, or to place my awareness, place the needle of my awareness on, quote unquote, the songs that I would like to play. So if, let's say you want to start a business. I want to start a pie making business. I've always dreamed of being a pie maker, and I have really great skills at rolling out dough. So in order to make that happen, do you need someone else's permission? Do you need money? The answer is no. This is what society tells you. You need to, get business licenses and get a loan, and that's how you become a pie maker. No. Aurora will tell you that what you need is the paintbrush of your imagination, that having the impetus inside of you to make pies and learn to do it and want to start a business, that's like having sexual desire that leads to procreative sex, that you have a desire to make something happen. And the making something happen is the act of your imagination, thinking about it, creating it with your passion and with your desire and with your emotion. When people pray to an external God, their belief in the power of the external God to grant their wish is what makes the wish be granted. So this is deep. This is cultural and religious programming that teaches you are just a lowly sinner, you are nothing, you must pray to an external God or Jehovah that then will grant your wish and give you what you want. And I am telling you, you don't need an external God. All you need is the key information that you are God. You are connected as a divine co-creator, that you take the world of matter, that is the mother, and impregnate it with consciousness, that is the father. And the end result, the child, is reality that you experience. This is giving birth to a new dimension. I hope that you will continue to tune in each week and get your genetic upgrade, and we will continue to give birth to a new dimension together. Thank you.